Please be seated. Good evening, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated members and guests to the Candidate Forum. My name is Pamela Whaley Wilson. I am the Emergency Response Team Chair. As we are gathered here today, I want to point out what to do in the event of an emergency. In the event of an emergency, remain calm. When calling 911, remember to give the location. Our location is Burnett Avenue Baptist Church, 6800 South Hurstbourne Parkway, 40291. Know the building evacuation routes. Be aware and notice the safety exits and stairwells closest to your location. There are 7 exits. 1, 2 here, 2 behind the screen. There's 1 on each side in the lobby, and of course, the main entrance when you enter the building. In the event, if we need to evacuate, leave immediately. Do not attempt to take personal items. Use the exits closest to you. Know the building. Come to the established assembly point. The assembly point is the back of the front parking lot, okay? If notification is received regarding an unwanted person in the building, shelter in place. Listen for additional instructions from authorities. The first aid kit is located afraid to ask me. There are 4 fire extinguishers. There's 1 located at each door exit. There is 1 when we first enter the building. That's 3. That's 1 on this exit to the right, to your left. The AED is located right to my right. Right at that wall that's sticking out, and you see the sign that say AED is right there. Let me think what else we need here. Will all able and willing medical professionals please stand? Stand so we know who you are. Thank you. Thank you. Will all ERT members stand? Thank you. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. members, you know what I'm going to ask you. Do you have your red envelope? Okay. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, PJ. Good evening and welcome to everybody. I am Monica Moman Saunders, the Vice President of Social Action for the Louisville Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. The Louisville Alumnae chapter is proud to host these forums and with these candidates for the offices of Jefferson County Attorney, Jefferson County Clerk, and Jefferson County Sheriff. The primary will be May 19th, 2026. These primary forums are focused on these 3 local races, but there are going to be many forums around the city, and I would encourage everybody to attend those so you can learn about the candidates, learn about the positions, learn about the candidates, so you can make an informed decision on the day you go in to vote. And while we acknowledge that the state elections are very important, we know that our local elections are most important because they directly impact our household and our daily lives. The Louisville Alumnae chapter is one of over 1,000 chartered collegiate and alumni chapters across the nation and the world. We are a nonpartisan, I'm gonna say that again, nonpartisan organization with close to 300 active members here in Louisville. We focus in social action. Well, we focus in Delta on the 5-point programmatic thrust, including political awareness and involvement. Voter engagement and voter education are why we are here today. I will highlight the fact that we are nonpartisan again and do not advocate for specific candidates, but rather for addressing those issues that impact all citizens, including the underserved in our nation. Our partners include other public organizations, including the Louisville League of Women Voters, who are with us this afternoon. And after the forum, we are hosting a meet and greet where you can have the opportunity to meet and talk to these candidates that are here today and pick up some of the information and pamphlets so you can learn even more. So we encourage you to remain after the forums so you can attend the meet and greet, which is going to be held in the multi-purpose room right to the back. Okay, so I'd like to recognize other candidates who are here with us today. If you could stand and just state your name, we would appreciate it. Okay, let's start here. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, right here in the back. Do you want to? Oh, okay. Right here. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you all. So you all have the opportunity to talk about your campaign during the meet and greet as well. Okay, our moderator this evening is none other than the Reverend Dr. Corey Scholl, pastor of this wonderful Burnett Avenue Baptist Church. And District 6 representative and chair of the Jefferson County School Board, and a recognized community leader and public servant. Dr. Scholl is a lifelong champion of public education, and his record of community service underscores his advocacy for a strong, diverse, and progressive JCPS school system. Corey holds degrees from Fisk University, Louisville Presbyterian Seminary, and a doctoral degree from the Collegiate Rochester Kozer Divinity School. Thanks again for attending, and we're about to get started with our forum. Dr. Scholl.
Good evening. My thanks to the Alumni Chapter for hosting these forums this evening. I can think of few things more important than educating voters about the issues facing our community and hearing from potential candidates and elected officials regarding their priorities and plans for addressing those issues that impact us on a daily basis. My thanks also to each of the candidates who are participating in these forums. I'd like to note that all candidates for each of the 3 offices were extended an invitation to participate regardless of party affiliation. These 3 races are partisan, meaning the candidates are running as Democrats, Republicans, or independents. As was previously stated, we have 3 forums this evening with approximately 30 minutes for each forum. The candidates have been provided a list of possible questions to be asked. The questions will be randomly selected, and each candidate will be given the opportunity to respond to the same question. The candidates will have 1 minute to introduce themselves before I move into the questions. There are 2 candidates present for the offices of Jefferson County Attorney and Jefferson County Clerk. We have 1 candidate present for the office of Jefferson County Sheriff. All candidates for that office were invited to participate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. We have timekeepers present to assist the candidates with adhering to the time limitations. There is also a clock in the back of the room that will keep candidates on task. We will begin with the forum for Jefferson County Attorney. The Jefferson County Attorney is an elected official serving as the chief legal counsel for the Louisville Jefferson County Metro government and its agencies. Key roles include prosecuting misdemeanor crimes and traffic offenses in district court, enforcing child support orders, handling mental health commitments, and advising on civil matters. Candidates for the office are Mr. Carl Price, Esquire, of the law offices of Carl Price, and Ms. Sarah Martin, Esquire, Assistant County Attorney, Jefferson County, Kentucky. They'll come now. We will, I don't have a coin, so we'll choose by alphabetical order of one's last name. And so we have Price and Martin. And so, yeah. So Ms. Martin, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are qualified to serve in this role.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority for hosting this wonderful candidate forum this evening. It's a pleasure to be here and talk with you all. So I'm fortunate to be the daughter of 2 public servants. My mother's a school teacher, and my father was a city attorney for many years in Ashland, where I grew up. They taught me the importance of public servants and always electing the right person to office. So I've been a public servant now for 17 years with the Jefferson County Attorney's Office. I started out as a prosecutor and worked my way through the office. On the civil side, I've held a variety of important offices. I've been lead attorney for the Louisville Metro Council, where I've helped advise 3 former mayors and 26 council members on legislation and important legal issues. I was a civil rights attorney for the Human Relations Commission for many years, where I even had the opportunity of trying the first hate crimes case under Louisville Metro's ordinances. And I was lead attorney for the election process, for the Board of Election, where I defended challenges to the election process. And my proudest moment is arguing before the Kentucky Supreme Court for Louisville minimum wage.
All right, that's the 2 minutes.
And that's my 2 minutes, thanks. Or 1 minute, it was just 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah. Mr. Price?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Carl Price, and as most of you know now, I am running for Jefferson County Attorney, to be the next Jefferson County Attorney. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Louisville, born and raised in the West End, graduated from Central High School, went to Kentucky State University, became an HBCU graduate, spent some time in Atlanta, seeking a political science master's degree, and then I came back for law school, graduated law school here in Kentucky, up in the Cincinnati area. Why am I qualified? I've been a former prosecutor for 25 years in the county attorney's office, and because of the time, I'm just going to jump right into why I believe I'm qualified. I'm qualified because of my leadership skills and my former prosecutorial experience. I've led many of the different departments and divisions in the county attorney's office on the criminal side. I have had a civil practice for over 35 years, practicing in state and federal court. I have led an international organization as well. One of the Divine Nine organizations, was an international president between 2009 and 2013, and was a member of the delegate from the Obama White House to the People's Republic of China.
That's time. What type of leadership positions have you held that prepared you to serve as county clerk?
So for the past 17 years, as I said, I've been with the Jefferson County Attorney's Office. But for the past 6 years, the most important leadership skills that I have prepared me for this position have been leading the civil division of the county attorney's office. The civil division is essentially the law department for the city, where I oversee a team of nearly 50 lawyers, and I strive to hire and retain the most talented lawyers in the community so we can provide the best legal advice to the elected officials and all the departments of Louisville Metro government. I think my service was most remarkable during the pandemic, where we first, which many of you remember was a difficult time for the community, first with trying to keep people safe and healthy, and then later with the protests that erupted following the death of Breonna Taylor, where I played an integral role of negotiating the settlement with Breonna Taylor's family and helped enact a number of the reforms with LMPD. And that also led and helped the city heal and find peace and move on. Also relevant is that I served for 14 years as the treasurer and lawyer for John Yarmouth, our former congressman for Louisville Metro, for the area, which was a real honor and significant as part of my leadership development.
Thank you. Mr. Price, what type of leadership positions have you held that prepared you to serve as county attorney?
Okay, in terms of leadership, I suspect that I sort of jumped ahead of myself on that last question, trying to stay within the time frame. But in terms of the leadership positions, there's been quite a few. I talked about being a delegate on behalf of the National Urban League to the People's Republic of China, directed by the Obama administration between, actually it was in 2012 when we did that. That was a very interesting visit, but what the Obama White House wanted to do was to send African-American leaders to the People's Republic of China, and I'm proud to have been selected for that. I have served here locally as a legal expert for, I am limited to identifying the TV station, but I can only say that it was the ABC affiliate here. They called on me as a legal expert to deal with matters of a legal nature. Probably one of the most important leadership roles that I have served in, and I spoke about it, I was the international president of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. So I was the CEO responsible for managing over 60,000 college-educated men and directing policies. Probably the most important part of that position was chairing the Council of Presidents. The Council of Presidents consists of Divine Nine presidents, the other 8 presidents, and I had an opportunity to serve in that role as a part of that leader. With that background, I believe that I am healthily qualified for the office of Jefferson County Attorney. Thank you.
Ms. Martin, what do you identify as the greatest challenge in serving as county attorney, and how would you overcome that challenge?
Well, the answer to that question is easy. It's Donald Trump. And I could spend quite longer than 2 minutes talking about all the reasons why, and I imagine many of you in the room would agree. But what's significant in the way it impacts Louisville and the county attorney's office has to do with the way that Donald Trump has demonized public servants, and he's withheld vital federal funding for important government operations all over the country, but also in Louisville. And the strength of the county attorney's office are the important attorneys and staff that work for us, and it's important that these attorneys and staff are paid properly and are supported by the government and aren't demonized by our leaders. And so I have the character and the temperament to fight Trump and to stand up to his illegal actions and for any attacks that he makes against those who are vulnerable in our community. Thank you.
What do you identify, Mr. Price, as the greatest challenge in serving as county attorney, and how would you overcome that challenge?
Thank you. What I identify as the greatest challenge are the disparities. And I just want to read some stats that sort of had me appalled. In terms of jail overrepresentation, black individuals, 49% of the jail population, but only 23% of county residents. Nearly a 2-to-1 overrepresentation ratio. Juvenile justice crisis, 93% of juveniles charged as adults are black in this county, 117 of 126 cases. 75% of youth detention bookings are black youth, despite being only 27% of the youth population. The length of stay and disparity. Black individuals, not just juveniles, spend 12 days longer in jail, 38 days versus 26 days for white individuals. Even after controlling for other factors, black individuals are 7% more likely to spend over 30 days in jail. Bench warrant enforcement. Black individuals are 3 times more likely to be arrested on bench warrants. Over 46,000 bench warrants were issued just in 2017 alone. Really interesting is the jury composition impact. With no black jurors, black defendants convicted 81% of the time versus 66% of the time for white defendants. With at least one black juror, the rates drop to 71% versus 73%. Black residents are only 14% of the jury pool, despite being 21% of the population. 1/3 of Jefferson County judges sentence African Americans more harshly, and 46,000 bench warrants issued. 37% of all arrests in 2019 involved bench warrants. As county attorney, I want to change that. I want to attack head on that disparity. Thank you. I think that's my time.
Ms. Martin, how do you interpret the county attorney's primary responsibility to prosecute cases, to seek justice, or both?
Well, you can't have one without the other. And as county attorney, it is important that justice is due diligence. It's important for the prosecutors to meet with all the witnesses, to review the case fully, to understand the elements, to make sure that the crime charged is appropriate to go forward with. And sometimes that means doing the right thing, which is dismissing the case. And so, and we've seen that at times. We saw that with the protest cases, for example. There were a number of cases that were charged at a time that was very chaotic for the city. Police forces all over the country weren't prepared for that type of protest levels. And the county attorney's office reviewed all of those cases and made determinations as to which ones were properly charged, which ones involved crimes of violence and crimes of property, and prosecuted those to the fullest extent. But sometimes prosecuting and finding justice means dismissing the case, and we certainly would continue that philosophy if I was elected county attorney. Thank you.
Mr. Price, how do you interpret the county attorney's primary responsibility to prosecute cases, to seek justice, or both?
Okay, so I will, in response to that question, just give a quote. Justice is the mission, prosecution is the tool. guided by the evidence, law, and fairness? This is an easy question for me because I reviewed a law review article when I was a prosecutor. It was a law review article that was written by Department of Justice prosecutors back in the 40s, and it was about ethics. And the main point of that law review article was that prosecutors are in the courtroom to seek justice, not to prosecute cases. Prosecute cases are secondary, to seek justice. And seeking justice is not always a conviction. Seeking justice sometimes is a dismissal of a case. But the primary role of a prosecutor is to seek justice. And so, you know, as I've practiced these last 10 years as a criminal defense attorney, what I have found is that the county attorney, the current county attorney's office falls short in that mission. And when I say seeking justice, I don't know if I have enough time, but I'm going to try to just give you all this example. I represented a defendant, came into the courtroom the first day of the case. I asked the prosecutor, what is it likely that we can do with the case? Mind you that I had done the research, and so I knew what the charge was. I knew what the likely outcome was. And the prosecutor says that he should serve 6 months in jail with no releases. That's no work release, no home incarceration or anything. A few court dates later, after I demanded all of the evidence, the prosecutor, without giving me the evidence, the prosecutor said to me that I'm going to dismiss the case. So that's the difference between justice and prosecution. If I had agreed with the prosecutor on the first day, then an individual who shouldn't be in jail, who shouldn't have been in jail, would have been in jail. So I think the goal of prosecutors is clearly to seek justice and then prosecute cases secondarily.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, what is your approach to prosecuting violent crimes?
So the county attorney's office prosecutes all misdemeanor cases, which range from a violation, not wearing your seatbelt, but also we handle the preliminary hearings for all felony cases, which include all kinds of violent crimes, rapes, murders, assaults. But the county attorney's responsibility on prosecuting violent crimes typically those folks are typically charged with felonies. And so the county attorney's role is to shepherd those felony cases to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So our first objective is to make sure that violent offenders stay incarcerated. So we argue vehemently to keep violent criminals incarcerated through fighting against any reduction in bonds. And then next, we handle all the preliminary hearings for these felony charges. So our prosecutors are tasked with making sure their witnesses are prepped, the evidence is properly presented, and the probable cause is found in these cases so the cases can go forward to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office so they can be prosecuted to the fullest extent. Thank you.
Mr. Price, what is your approach to prosecuting violent crimes?
My approach to prosecuting violent crimes is first prioritize those crimes that are violent, and particularly crimes involving firearms, crimes involving repeat offenders, domestic violence, and crimes against children and seniors. And my position would be that prosecutors ought to always be trial ready and victim centered. There's an interesting program that has been initiated in the city of Baltimore, Maryland, and I like the program, and I would like to see it implemented here in Jefferson County through the county attorney's office. And what they do with that program, first of all, the name of the program is Precision Prevention, and what they do in that program, they concentrate on those particular crimes and in those areas of the city and by certain individuals who are typically more likely to engage in criminal conduct. And because of that, they have brought the homicide rate down to almost 125% just in 1 year. I think we need something like that in Jefferson County, and that's something that I would like to see here in Jefferson County. In other words, to just put this in a better focus, I'm really not interested in cases that police officers bring into court that involve a violation of the law because a license plate was not illuminated. You know, those are resources that we're spending for that when we can be spending those resources precisely on those types of crimes that are really, really harming our community.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, how would you work with local law enforcement agencies?
So the county attorney's office works with Louisville Metro Police Department probably more than any other organization in town. Our prosecutors work with the LMPD officers as the prosecuting witnesses. The prosecutors prepare the police officers, they work to develop the cases, so that is their main prosecuting witness in all those cases. We also have prosecutors and civil attorneys who help train LMP officers throughout the year. We have 2 attorneys who are dedicated to helping train the officers as a full-time job. And we have a total of 7 assistant county attorneys who are completely embedded in LMPD. And this was part of the reforms that came out of the 2020 police reforms following Breonna Taylor's case and killing. So these were structured reforms that I was personally involved in making and helping bring more constitutional policing to LMPD. We also defend LMPD, and at any one time, there are well over 100 lawsuits against police officers, and the county attorney's office is the one that handles those cases. We advise the chief on any discipline or termination of police officers who have broken either policy or the law. And the county attorney's office prosecutes those police officers who break the law. So we handle every aspect of working with LMPD and have a great relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Price, how would you work with local law enforcement agencies?
One of the ways that I would work with local law enforcement, obviously, are for all the reasons that Ms. Martin indicated. There are connections between the law enforcement agencies, all of the law enforcement agencies in this county, not just Louisville Metro, that require the county attorney to have a relationship with. But one of the things that I would like to focus on with law enforcement officers is I would like to see law enforcement officers trained a lot better. Now, we can't do what has been done in Richmond, Kentucky, but what we can do as prosecutors in the courtroom and even civil attorneys in federal court when we're defending these police officers, one of the things that we can do is tell them where they got it wrong, okay, and try to follow up with them to make sure that they understand that it's sort of one bite at the apple, that you can't keep coming back with the same violating somebody's Fourth Amendment rights, pulling them over, and think that that's okay. So I think that there needs to be a training component inside the courtroom in the civil division as well as in the criminal division to let these police officers know that if they didn't get the training properly in Eastern Kentucky, or if they didn't get the training properly from their individual departments, that we are willing to help them. And one of the examples I often give is that I don't really watch, I'm like everybody else. Nurses don't like watching medical nurses on TV, and I don't like watching lawyers or prosecutors on TV, but I was particularly interested in law and order, and the reason I was interested in law and order because the police officers would basically, law enforcement would actually go to the prosecutor in that TV show and basically sell their case to the prosecutor as opposed to bringing a case and say, this is what I want you to prosecute.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, how do you balance public safety with criminal justice reform?
Well, public safety is the #1 responsibility of the government, and I will take this very seriously. But the county attorney's office, we don't just prosecute. We also advise the police, and we're heavily involved in advising the police. And that comes with making sure that our police officers are well aware of the constitutional rights of the people in the community, and that'll further making the community safe and protecting people's rights in this community. Now, on the criminal side, our first interaction with public safety and criminals who are incarcerated is to keep their bond high, which I've mentioned earlier. But on the prosecution of the same defendants, you know, we have terrific diversion court programs that provide some opportunity for reform. We have drug court, veterans court, DUI court, and also restorative justice, which is particularly effective with some of our juvenile offenders. And finally, I think this balance of public safety and criminal justice reform is important to get right. And so if elected, I will undergo a comprehensive review of the county attorney's office prosecution guidelines to make sure they remain fair and just. Thank you.
Mr. Price, how do you balance public safety with criminal justice reform?
So I'm going to read from my jotted notes here, and then I'll comment. First of all, data-driven. Tough on violent and repeat offenders, smart alternatives for appropriate nonviolent cases in terms of public safety. Diversion when it lowers reoffending, jail when it protects the public, measure results, and then adjust. And reform that reduces crime is public safety. But this is really a tough question. This is probably one of the toughest questions tonight, because when you look at public safety, obviously we all want to be safe. We all want our property not to be stolen. But criminal justice reform could be bail reform, okay? And during the Breonna Taylor protest, that was a side issue, is how do we deal with bail reform? That is tough. Right now, it is a case-by-case matter that has to be dealt with. But so I just want to make it very clear that the toughest thing in the criminal justice system is to try to balance public safety with criminal justice reform. Especially, and I gave that example because that example is the bail many of y'all remember the bail project and all of that. And it's tough when you have when a judge has an individual in front of them and a prosecutor has to make a recommendation on that individual and bail is the issue. The hunch is, let's keep this person in jail as long as you possibly can. But we all now recognize that high bail really is a method that really keeps poor people in jail. So I think it is an area that really has to be studied, and for now we have to deal with it, balancing the two on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, how should the county address drug-related offenses, punishment, treatment, or both?
Well, substance abuse is a public health problem in our community. And often drug offenses and domestic violence, there's often mental health or substance abuse problem. So typically, as any kind of penalty, treatment is a component of that penalty, if or when the person is willing to accept and seek treatment. We have roughly 820 defendants right now that are in home incarceration. Many of these people are serving their time in a treatment facility. So we often understand that substance abuse treatment is an important part of correcting the criminal behavior and benefiting not only that defendant, but also their family, their opportunities to be gainfully employed and not commit future crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Price, how should the county address drug-related offenses, punishment, treatment, or both?
I think it depends on the cases and it depends on the circumstances. It could easily be both. So first, punishment. Obviously, if you're dealing with a drug-related offense that involves a violent drug dealer or a violent drug dealing gang, obviously sometimes punishment is the only option if there's nothing you can do to stop them from reoffending. But on the other side of that, drug-related offenses can be those offenses that are committed, such as theft, by individuals who are addicted to substances. And if that is the case, obviously treatment should be the first option. My motto, even when I was a prosecutor for 25 years, was that we should not be a part of a system that incarcerates the insane or put the insane in jail. That's something that we don't want to do. So if treatment is an option, I think we should take advantage of the option to make sure that treatment is explored and provide somewhat of a better system in terms of supporting these individuals for other treatment. And, you know, some of that treatment may involve just merging somehow, at least coming up with some committee to study and merge somehow treatment, criminal justice system, and clinicians who can actually deal with helping the criminal justice system, because we're lawyers and we're judges and we don't really know this stuff, but the clinicians may be able to help us a lot better. So I think under the circumstances, sometimes it's punishment when there's nothing else that you can do. Sometimes it's treatment, so it would be both.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, how will you ensure transparency in the county attorney's office?
So the Jefferson County Attorney's Office handles quite a few responsibilities for Louisville Metro government. And it's one of those offices that we kind of fly under the radar and you don't hear about us very often in the media. So there's a lot of information and great work that goes on that many people don't know anything about. So one of the first things I'll do when I'm county attorney's office is improve our website because we'd like to talk about some of this great work that we do that is otherwise just not out in the public. I think technology has improved tremendously in recent years, and we have opportunity to share these resources and also make some of our public-facing operations more available for people in the community that use them, like the victims of crime. We run a delinquent tax operation, restitution for victims, and also, and most obviously, our collection of child support for custodial parents. So I look forward to telling the public a lot more about what we're doing if elected county attorney. Thank you.
Yes, how will you ensure transparency in the county attorney's office?
Well, first of all, transparency to me is the nickname of government, okay? The people need to know. The citizens of this county need to know. And that's one of the issues that I have with the county attorney's office, because when you have an office, and so let me just back up and just say the first thing that I would do is tell the public what the public has been asking for years. Since 2013, many of you all may not know, but there's a traffic program in the county attorney's office, and judges have actually sued, have actually filed lawsuits asking for transparency, and they have yet to get that transparency. So one of the things that I would do, to the extent that the law would allow me, I would give you that transparency. One of the problems with that program is that there's about 25% of the millions of dollars that is collected by the county attorney's office that nobody knows where it's going to. It is an excellent program, but in terms of transparency, how do we understand a government that says you can stop an individual, and under government control, you can find that individual, and that individual can be forced to pay, let's say, $250 to deal with that sanction, and then after you pay for the sanction, you don't want to tell where that money is going. So I can tell you that transparency is extremely important. I think the public needs to know. We do not, and we should not have a situation here in Jefferson County like they have in Washington, where they're releasing information only that they want to release on a particular matter. So, you know, my office, if I'm county attorney, we will not be blocking open records requests for information that we believe that the public should know.
Ms. Martin would like to respond.
Thanks. I had 40 seconds left, so I'd like to respond to that claim. I'm not aware of any open records requests we haven't responded to. We're audited every year. I brought the audit. It talks exactly about where the money's collected and then how it's spent. That goes to the county sheriff's office, Louisville Metro government, the clerk's office, county attorney's office, the vendor, and then also some nonprofits who benefit from these services as well. Our we're audited yearly. That goes also to the Department of Local Government and the state. So all of this information is available also through an open records request. So there hasn't been a lawsuit. We haven't been sued over failure to provide that information.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to the response, Mr.
Just 2 minutes.
Just 10 seconds, all right.
There is a clear record that the county attorney has consistently blocked open records requests for this particular information.
Ms. Martin, are you,
That's just not true. We don't have it. There's no lawsuit. I'm happy to give this information to Carl now so he can have it.
Okay, well, I mean, if I get the information, then I have to disclose the lawsuits as well, seeking the information.
Give me the lawsuit. I'll look it up.
all right. Well, our time has ended. Ms. Martin, before we leave, yes, are you a U of L or you a UK fan?
Oh, I'm a card.
Your card? Are you
Are
sure?
you kidding?
Okay.
I went to U
What
of L
about-
as well.
What about you, Mr. Price? You got to say that in the microphone so everybody can hear you.
You're gonna put me on the spot. I am a Cardinals fan.
All right, then. All right, so if both of you all are Cards fans,
We are.
prove it. Who's your favorite current U of L Cardinal basketball player?
Well, I must also admit I'm not much of a sports fan, but
Okay.
but I am glad that our record's improving. How about that?
Okay, Mr. Price?
Conwell, clearly Conwell.
Conwell. All right.
Conwell over Brown.
Thank you all so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next forum is for the office of Jefferson County Sheriff. We have one candidate present for that office this evening, Colonel Steve Healy. Colonel Healy, thank you for the opportunity to hear more about. Oh, okay. Y'all can't hear me? Oh, okay. I used to get in trouble for talking too loud in the house, so I guess it worked. Yes, so Colonel Steve Healy, thank you for the opportunity to hear more about your platform this evening. Colonel Healy currently serves as the Chief Deputy of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, specifically in Kentucky as of 2026, is tasked with preserving public peace, enforcing law, securing courts, serving legal processes, evictions, and warrants, and collecting taxes. Key duties include criminal investigations, patrol, and, as of late 2025, specialized units for entertainment, districts, and traffic enforcement. They also process concealed carry permits and perform vehicle inspections. Colonel Healy, we have approximately 30 minutes for this forum. You will have 1 minute to introduce yourself before I move into the questions. You will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. We have timekeepers present to assist the candidates with adhering to the time limitations. There's also a clock in the rear of the room for the purpose of timekeeping. Let's move right into the questions. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you are qualified to serve as county sheriff.
Sure. I'd like to echo the sentiments earlier of thanking Delta Sigma Theta, Dr. Shull, and Burnett Avenue Baptist Church for hosting this important forum. We're going to talk about my qualifications in a little bit, but I want you to know who the person is. My name's Steve Healy. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a grandfather. I come from a blue-collar family. That's why several of our labor unions endorse me. When I go home at night, I have my wife, we have 3 dogs, 2 cats, a mother-in-law. We got number 10 grandbaby on the way. So you don't know what I'm going home to. So I have the patience, I have the empathy to do this job. I've been a public servant, law enforcement for over 27 years in this community. And the one thing I'll tell you that I do is I show up. I show up in the community and I meet people where they are. And this is my passion. This is what I love to do. My leadership is based in my faith and my family. So if I do go over a little bit, I hang around with a lot of pastors. So just saying. But that's who the person is. And I look forward to being your next Jefferson County Sheriff.
What leadership positions have you held that prepared you to serve as county sheriff?
I was the Deputy Chief of Operations for the Louisville Metro Police Department. That meant I was second in charge of the largest law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. After I retired, I became the Chief of Police for the Pee Wee Valley Police Department, where I resurrected that agency who had been dormant for almost 2 years. I currently serve as the Chief Deputy of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. So now I'm second in charge of the 4th largest law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm active in the community. I'm a founding member of the Bishop's Table. So every Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're probably going to find me down at River Park and 37th Street, where we work with the community and we talk out our differences. We can disagree, but we can still love one another.
What do you identify as the greatest challenge in serving as county sheriff, and how would you overcome that challenge?
Well, that's twofold. Number one, I think we have to recognize across the nation that trust within law enforcement agencies is one of the biggest issues you have to overcome. And the true measure of any law enforcement agency is the relationships that it has with the community that it serves. Until Sheriff James and I took over 6 months ago, there hadn't been a change in leadership in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in 28 years. So we have to overcome that. We have to modernize that agency. We're implementing body cameras for the first time. I'll tell you, they showed up last week. So in building trust and transparency with our community, those are the things we're going to do. We've implemented a community engagement services division. We hired Stefan Johnson as our communications director to get the message out about what the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office does. There are so many people that had no idea what we do. We've hired a chief financial officer because spending your money, your taxpayer money, that's oversight, and that's what's important to you. So those are so many challenges, but we're up to it. We're ready for it. I've been built for this my entire career to do this job.
Mr. Healy, what are the duties of the sheriff as opposed to police officers?
Well, first, let's be clear. There is no difference in our law enforcement authority than a police officer and a deputy. We go through the same training. We have the same powers of arrest. We have the same powers to enforce the law. Now, the responsibilities are different. Typically, you think of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, we have to protect the courts. That's our job. We have to collect the taxes. That's our job. We do vehicle inspections. We do process service. All of those are our jobs. And the police department, typically, they do response to runs, investigate crimes, and things like that. But let me tell you something. We're the 4th largest law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And right now, our city's hurting. And we've listened to the community about things that we can do to help out. We're not trying to be another LMPD. We're the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. But there are things that we can do because we have the same authority to tackle quality of life issues within this city, such as traffic enforcement within your neighborhoods, where you walk your dog, you walk your kids, where we have people going around breaking into cars. Kids in the West End shouldn't sleep in bathtubs because of gunfire. Those are things that we can do to help out our community and be better stewards of the safety of this city.
Since there is no oversight board, how do you ensure accountability and transparency to the community?
Well, first of all, we do have a Jefferson County Sheriff's Merit Board, and it is made up of civilians and individuals of all walks of life. So when policies are broken, we have a process to investigate that. And oversight, like I talked about earlier, it's not just about use of force. It's not just about a false arrest. It's how do we spend your taxpayer dollars? How do we buy the equipment that we buy? Our training. We just hired one of the most renowned training instructors in the United States, and he specializes in leadership training. We're working to get our own accredited training academy where we can teach our own deputies and we can teach court security officers. Carl mentioned earlier about going to Richmond. Louisville's vastly different than Richmond, Kentucky. And we have multiple different divisions within Louisville, and each one of these council districts is different. And within that council district, it has different neighborhoods. So we can teach the culture of the neighborhoods that we're policing and work with the community that we're policing, because oversight and responsibility starts with effective leadership. If we get into a situation where we need somebody to come in and look at it from the outside, we'll ask for it.
Mr. Healy, what is your plan for recruiting qualified deputies in today's job market?
I mean, look at what we're doing right now. We just I mentioned Stefan Johnson, recognized as our communications director. We just hired a nationally recognized director over our training unit. In the past month, I believe we've hired almost 16 deputies. These individuals see the leadership qualities that we have, and they want to be a part of that. Leadership, quality leadership, attracts quality deputies. And that's what we strive to do. Even though we may be a little short right now, but we're working on filling those vacancies, I promise you. But even if we're short, we'll never be desperate. We're going to hire the right people. We're going to hire the right people that have the same mentality and the commitment to the community that myself and Sheriff James have. We are working right now on a financial package to get them raises. One of the other things we're looking at is recruiting from diverse communities, promoting our professional standards. But one of the most important things we're doing right now is working to implement a deputy wellness program. Because we, as police officers and law enforcement, we see traumatic events every single day. Some people may only see that once in their lifetime. So we have to make sure that the people we put out on the street are mentally well, and they can be able to decompress that. Because a well, healthy deputy or officer makes better decisions, better communication, and less likely for error.
How will you ensure proper training and supervision of officers?
Well, first of all, you can't ever say that your minimum standards are enough. You have to exceed those standards. You have to constantly exceed those standards. And we police now in an ever-evolving culture and environment. And you have to make sure that your training standards meet those training and evolving cultures. Implicit bias, crisis intervention, dealing with individuals of houselessness, when we talked about mental illness. Those are so many things that we didn't talk about when I first came on in the police department. So you have to work on what are best practices across the nation. And you really have to invest in your leadership. I'm happy to announce that since we announced our new training director and the new leadership of the Sheriff's Office, FLETC, which is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Centers, are bringing a national leadership training seminar here to Louisville, Kentucky in May, hosted by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. That is what we are striving to do, is make sure we put out the best and most well-trained deputies to serve our communities.
Mr. Healy, how do you plan to collaborate with local police departments and state agencies?
Well, first of all, we need to know public safety. It is a collaboration. And when we talk about public safety, it's not just about dealing with other local law enforcement agencies. That was evident in the UPS plane disaster, where several of our public service agencies came together and we worked together. When you work together and you collaborate together, you eliminate duplication and you become more effective. We were complimented on the collaboration that happened here when that plane disaster happened by the FAA. They said they had never seen such cohesion amongst all the law enforcement and public safety agencies here in Louisville. You know, I've maintained those strong working relationships. As I said, I've been second in command of the first and now the fourth largest law enforcement agencies in the Commonwealth. We have those partnerships. We have those working relationships. We work on federal task forces. We work in conjunction and let other individuals know. We just recently partnered with the county attorney's office because they had a backlog of individuals that were behind on child support. So we created a task force to go out and look for these most egregious offenders that were behind on child support. We have worked, like I said earlier, about creating a traffic unit, a CART team, a business and entertainment district. We want this community to be safe, and we will work with anybody. But let me be clear, we are the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and we are here, and we are willing to do what we need to do for a safer community.
What policies will you implement to ensure fairness and prevent discrimination?
First of all, you have to have clear anti-discrimination standards. You have to have bias awareness training and transparent discipline. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to tell you about me and what I've done. Vet Gentry, I look at her as my big sister. She was a mentor to me. We had some retired police officers that made some very discriminatory and biased and bigoted statements about her on social media. Sometimes when you're silent, that's deafening. I wasn't silent. I called them out. Even though I couldn't get them fired because they were already retired, we got them kicked out of the FOP where they couldn't have any of those benefits for the rest of their life. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're part of a hate group, if you display hate, you display bias, I will use Giglio to fire you. When you have this badge, there is no place for hate. There's no place for discrimination. And we have to educate and make sure that training, and there's clearly defined discipline if you violate that.
Thank you. What are your funding priorities?
Oh my God, there's so many. First of all, we're working towards our own accredited training academy. The body-worn camera implementation, that is huge to build trust within the community. Recruitment and retention initiatives. Like I said, we're going to hire the best deputies. We're not going to just hire anybody. Our standards will be high. Security within the courthouses and the technology that's in there. Updating our technology in just our data systems and payroll systems. The deputy wellness, and I can't tell you how important that is, as I spoke earlier, is to put well-trained and mentally healthy deputies out on the street. They make better decisions. They interact better. And making sure that we have great benefits for our deputies who go out there and do this job every single day. Because when you have the good benefits, you can recruit. And you can recruit from the best of the best. And you have people that want to come to your agency from other agencies. And you can recruit the best of the best. I'm not saying this is what our plan is. This is what we're doing. You look at the track record since David James and I have came into office. These are the things not that we're planning on doing. These are the things that we're done, we are doing, and I will continue to do as the next sheriff of Jefferson County, Kentucky.
how will you build trust between law enforcement and the community?
I've been doing that my whole career. I believe in community engagement. I believe in collaboration with the community. As I said, I'm a founding member of the Bishop's Table. You have to be visible. You have to have open communication, explain your why, but more importantly, you got to show up. You have to show up and meet the people where they are. Vet told me one time, if you have this badge, and that if you have responsibility and authority, you must also have humility. You have to be approachable. You have to be willing to take the criticism and work together, because this is our city, 100%. And to build trust, I can't say any more than showing up, listening, and acting fairly, and police in a positive, constitutional, and ethical manner.
Final question. As a law enforcement professional, which law enforcement style most deeply resonates with you? Andy or Barney Fife?
Wow. Andy or Barney Fife. Man, they're both great. Andy's really calm, and Barney's eager, but he needs some training. Andy, it's probably Andy. I'm so enthralled in my faith in my family, and he's like the father figure in the calming voice that comes into a situation that is chaos, and they can just bring people together and get people to laugh and get people to work together. So I'm gonna say Andy.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Healy.
Plus, I believe I know we know a guy named Andy. It's probably going to be our next president.
Okay, yeah, we hope. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Our next forum is for the office of Jefferson County Clerk. Our candidates are interim Jefferson County Clerk, Mr. David Yates, Esquire, and Ms. Rosalind Roz Welch. In the interest of transparency, I'll note that Ms. Welch is a member of the Louisville Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but has not been involved in the planning or decisions leading up to this forum. Each candidate received a list of possible questions at the same time. Mr. Yates and Ms. Welch, thank you for the opportunity to hear more about your platforms this evening. The Jefferson County Clerk in Kentucky serves as the chief election official, motor vehicle registrar, and custodian of public records, including marriage licenses and property deeds. The office manages vehicle registration, titling, collects related taxes, and oversees election administration. We have approximately 30 minutes for this forum. You will have 1 minute to introduce yourself before I move into the questions. You will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. We have timekeepers present to assist the candidates with adhering to the time limitations. There's also a great big clock right there in the rear of the sanctuary to help you in the endeavor of timekeeping. Ms. Welch, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are qualified to serve as county clerk.
Good evening. I'm Roz Welch, and I'm running to be your next Jefferson County Clerk. Why am I qualified for this role? I have spent over a decade being an election worker, working side by side with the clerk's office to implement your elections every year. I actually started as a roamer, which meant I got a call at 6 a.m. that said, hey, somebody didn't show up. So that meant I could have been dispatched to either Fairdale, Middletown, or the West, regardless of where somebody may have missed. I've also spent the last 15 years working for a Fortune 100 company, managing and developing great guest experiences. And with our offices here in the city, my job is to bring that experience to you to make it as frictionless as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Yates, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are qualified to serve as county clerk.
Thank you. I'm David Yates, and I currently serve as your Jefferson County Clerk. I'm also chair of the Board of Elections. I'm born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I went to Holy Cross High School, University of Louisville, and then in law school up at Chase, always with a heart to serve. From my career at the AG's office to Assistant Attorney General, there to the Metro Council, to the State Senate leadership, to here, it's always been about how I serve the public. My qualifications prove themselves every day. My qualifications come by the way I do the job. I'm doing it every single day by running this complex office the right way. So many people have already experienced the benefits of what happened when we stabilized an area. After the passing of Bubby Hoss Law, we had to come in, we had to stabilize, and we had to gradually make sure that things are improved. My receipts come from what I've done in office. On the Metro Council at 10 years, as president of the council and the state senate. I've always delivered for the people, and I make sure that I'm held accountable.
Thank you. Ms. Welch, what type of leadership positions have you held that prepared you to serve as county clerk?
All right, leadership positions. Well, I am currently a director at Target for our Community Action Committee, which serves store operations, about 1,000 team members through Target as we do community and volunteerism and serve throughout the nation. The other part is I have been a leader in stores. So like I said, I work for Target Corporation currently. I've led thousands of employees across the nation through complex construction, natural disaster projects, as well as leadership development. One of my biggest claims to fame is right here in this city. I have a young man who started out as a cart attendant with me, and I had developed into a store director because it's really about investing in people. The other piece of leadership I've done is I've been the immediate past president of the Louisville Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, which has given me great joy and pleasure. And I'm now the social action state coordinator for that organization as well. And lastly, I'm the vice chair of the Louisville Democratic Party, and that serves for the entire county. I was unanimously elected to that role in 2024 and then re-elected this year in 2025. And lastly, some nonprofit experience. I used to be a board member of the Delta Life Development Center, and I'm now the chair of Jacket Nation, a 501c3 board that honors and uplifts my alma mater, Central High School.
Mr. Yates, what type of leadership positions have you held that prepared you to serve as county clerk?
Preparing me to serve as a county clerk. Here you have both operational leadership and political leadership. And to be honest, you have to have both to be successful. I have both. I had come in, like I said, on here and stabilized an office early on. We had to invest in streamlining services. We made sure we invested into the people, into our leadership, into training. We've increased wages immediately by 9.2% in the first 3 months. We've made sure that we're reinvesting in the people and watching services improve. The other part is the political leadership. I have served at each level of government and build relationships, not only here locally, but also in Frankfort. I clerk in the U.S. District Court. I was at the AG's office. I was in leadership. I was the president of the Metro Council 2 terms. And then also as a state senator, I built those relationships. That's what works. I work continuously with the county attorney's office and working through different projects for a decade. I've done the same thing in the sheriff's office, the PVA, the circuit court, each of those. And that's how I've been successful. This isn't a one-man band. This is leadership. And you don't do that by walking in. This isn't something that is a starting point. This is something that has to be earned. It's earned by a decade of coming in, showing up, and doing the hard work of managing large amounts of people, and we're making major changes. Right now, I'm proud of this office, but it's in steps of improvement. Modernization, technology improvements, making sure that our elections are to be secure, and standing up. Not only do I have my legal hat, we are standing up and we are fighting back to the Department of Justice through your clerk's office. You better believe by my working with the attorney's office that we're going to fight back. You're going to see your county clerk swing back from Jefferson County and protect your records, because that's what I've always done. That's who I am. I'm a fighter, but more than that, I'm a winner.
Thank you. Ms. Welch, What do you identify as the greatest challenge in serving as county clerk, and how would you overcome that challenge?
So I think, one, David actually pointed to a little bit of it, which is the increase in technology. All three of our offices that you have witnessed today have been held by octogenarians or very close to it, right? So with that comes a little bit of newness that we need to bring into it, to a little freshness. So whether that's with enhancing our websites and our technology, making it people-friendly and easily accessible, I use the word frictionless. Sometimes we go into places and it's automatic friction. You go into a government office, and it shouldn't be that way. You should not have to pull a tab and wait 2 hours to get seen. So when we're talking about what do we need to improve upon within this office, technology is the first piece. How many of you all knew that you could renew your tags by mail, by phone, by going into the office or online? We have to do a better job at educating the entire populace of that you don't have to sit in that office for that long. So that's a big piece of this office, is making sure that we create the outreach that's out there outside of just digital ads, outside of just digital advertising, but showing up where people are. And so as we look at other ways that we can expand that office, is including in people development. We've increased wages, but then how do we increase potential for growth within this position? Right? If you start out as a clerk, how do you end as the executive director of the clerk's office? We must invest in our people, especially because we have quite a few people who come to the clerk's office and retire from the clerk's office. And we want to make sure that their development is meaningful in their career, and that they can come out, even if they leave us, and have meaningful skills that can be transferred to other businesses and other opportunities.
Mr. Yates, what do you identify as the greatest challenge in serving as county clerk, and how would you overcome that challenge?
Well, we faced them, and we've done it. The first thing was coming into an office right now that we had already had 2 major hiccups in elections. They had been hacked. There was an overdue audit, and there was a sense of urgency and fear. We immediately stabilized that office. We went through piece by piece, studied it, and listened. I found some of the best talent within that office, and I've invested in it. I found it and promoted. I found the hardest working people that I've ever worked with in there, and I put them in the spots they need to be successful. I found the workers on the front line, and I said, they do not make a livable wage. When the federal government was going to shut down, we were worried they were going to lose their SNAP benefits. I've reinvested in it. I've done it. This is what I'm doing day in and day out. I attack these hard, very difficult challenges every day that's changing one after another, and that's what leadership is.
Ms. Welch, there has been recent scrutiny regarding the issuance of fraudulent quitclaim deeds and false vehicle registration tags. What fraud prevention measures would you implement to ensure that these types of issues will not occur in the Jefferson County Clerk's office?
So one, it's working across the board. So first, when it comes to the quick deed claim issue, our clerk's office said this only happens once every 4 years. When a councilwoman got on television and said, hey, if you think this has happened to you before, let me know. We had over 40 people respond to say they believe that their property had been stolen this way. The county clerk's office said, hey, that's not our problem anymore. We have to work with the legislature to create an opportunity for reversal that doesn't require us going back to court and families then coming out of pocket to then sue for their rightful property back. That has to change. If we make the mistake, we need to own up to it. And that's what we need in leadership to say as well. We've had the issue of vehicle registrations come out. Clerk Yates got up there and said, with the sheriff's department, hey, we just found this issue. How do we stop this issue from happening again? I swear, as soon as they said there was fake tags, I felt like every car I saw had a different tag on it. It was a temporary tag everywhere. I was like, is this a fake tag? Is this a real tag? Right? So within there, being able to, even as populace, be able to say, okay, how do I identify what a fake tag looks like? Making sure it has to be bigger than just sound bites. You can only get this from a dealer. If somebody's selling on Facebook Marketplace, it's a scam. But here's the other part to it. If you are trying to buy a tag off of Facebook Marketplace, what other nefarious activities are you trying to get into? And that's the back end of this that works within the partnership. So you have 3 offices here that work very closely together, which is why this forum works. because they work hand in hand as we try to issue these pieces. So one is taking accountability when things happen. Two is making sure that we create opportunities to reverse issues. And three, it's making sure we go on the back end and prosecute this so it doesn't happen again.
Mr. Yates, I'll restate the question, or do you have it?
Yeah, I mean, with fraudulent deeds and the false tags, the temporary tags. Well, first of all, it is also an issue with Frankfurt, and it's fun for me to shoot arrows back at them since I was actually a state senator 6 months ago in here. And there's never a better time for me to be in this position. It is the right time for me to be in the right place. With the challenges with the Department of Justice coming after us, and then what's going on in Frankfurt, because I'll tell you, there's legislation right now that can attack us in so many ways that I have been on the front lines. I am on my calls, I'm on the phone, and I'm working those relationships. One of those things is the temporary tags. That's an issue. They put them on a 8.5 by 11 sheet, just like a piece of paper, and it's easy to fraud. So we're working to try to get Frankfurt to make those changes. We have worked in conjunction with our sheriff's office in there. We did some sting operations. My father's here today. We put him undercover. That's a true story. We really did. And we're above anything to make sure people come to justice. But the other part was there was a lot of young people and elderly that were being taken advantage of because of this. They were being scammed. So that was part of the reason to come out and say, if you're getting it from some other than a dealer or my office, there's a problem here. The other part is the deeds. I'm also an attorney. I sat down a table of closing attorneys and title attorneys, and we sat down and figured out best practices. How do we get this? How do we catch this? Because what's happened is they would find it, and they would send it away because they don't want to be liable for pulling a flag. We got to make sure that they have some type of immunity so they can bring it forward. Then we've invested in the technology. So the problems that we know of, we're addressing. Right now, we're brought in, it's a balcony technology they do in New Jersey and other places to help identify it. And the important part is we continue training. We can train on the front line. We make sure that our employees understand what's expected of them. I don't want them to put themselves in harm's way, but they know what to look for. Now, the criminals, they're getting better and better. The fraud's getting better and better, and that's why we're investing in the best technologies available. We partnered with the Metro and then the Sheriff's Office, so we don't have to do it all alone. That's that leadership I talk about, political.
Ms. Welch, what are your plans on creating greater accessibility and efficacy for customers needing clerk's office services?
So creating greater accessibility. So that's one of my 5-star service opportunities is accessibility. One is opening up a new office in the Watterson corridor. Currently, our offices are all located outside of the Gene Snyder. There is one at the Lower Hunters on Dixie. There's one at Amy, and then one downtown, all right? You have to pay to park downtown, or you have to go outside to the edge of the county. So bringing one closer in is one piece of that. The second piece of that is educating people on the accessibility. Every single polling location in Jefferson County has something called an AccuVote that allows you to push a touch screen to cast your ballot. And it prints out a paper ballot, and then you put it into the box. How many of you knew that was an option? Okay. That option is for anybody, whether you have a disability or you don't. But what we see from our years of working the elections, being boots on the ground, is that we have people who have disabilities who have no idea that this option is for them. Secondly, because it looks like a computer, a lot of time our seniors who are working the polls go, hey, I'm just gonna give you this regular ballot. Let me know if you need some help with that. I can help you there because of that technology. I'm usually the youngest person working my polling place. So you know what happens. They go, Rosalind, go over there and help that person with that computer. But the reality of that is that there are tools for accessibility, but if the community does not know that it exists, it is for naught. The amount of times that machine is never used on election day is scary because we know that people need it. And lastly, I would say is making sure that our polling locations are not only just accessible for a wheelchair, but also accessible for the distance in which people have to walk from the entrance to the back. And we saw that being a major issue in 2020. And sometimes we see that at some of our larger vote locations, but even sometimes at our smaller locations as well.
Mr. Yates, what are your plans on creating greater accessibility and efficacy for customers needing clerk's office services?
Well, first of all, I have to take advantage because she laid me up. How many people here have been a poll worker? How many? How many are signed up this year? You better keep them up. Right now, we need 2,000 poll workers. That's right. And I appreciate that. Ms. Welch has been a poll worker on there. You have to be 18 years old. You have to be registered to vote, and you can be a poll worker. That's important. We want to make sure that happens. Accessibility. Accessibility is, right now, we've hit the ground running. I came in, we're under right now. Remember, I keep saying, check, we agree on these things, except I'm doing it. Right now, we've already have the website being brought in. We have a Granicus system that is going to be ADA. It'll be in multi-languages, over 100 languages. It's going to be available, and it's going to work not just with our offices, but the other Metro offices, so they can talk to each other. Because when I served as Metro Council and Metro Council President and State Senate, constituents want their issue resolved. They don't want to say, oh, that's the sheriff's issue, that's the clerk's issue. They want their issue resolved. So we're going to have a website that talks and works together. That's that technology improvement that we're working on. And we want to make sure that the facilities, I know that Ms. Welch just said that she's going to put another facilities in a certain place. That may be, but remember I told you the other thing about that operational leadership and experience, which is important. See, before you spend $3.2 million and another $500,000 where people are, you've got to do an inventory. You've got to figure out where the studies are. We're doing that right now. And the reason that those numbers aren't back yet, we have to look at population growth, where they've done, and where the investment is, where the facilities have been returned, and how that works. So what we do is, as much as I want to run down and do everything, your tax dollars are important. We operate within a controlled budget, and I'm responsible with that. And so what we do is we do the studies, we measure twice, cut once. We make sure that we can return an investment for you, and we can invest back in the people. So the accessibility has to do with making sure we're modernizing things, we're making it easier, we're making sure it's out to people, but also training. Because we have the ADA compliance, we've got to make sure it's better training, and so we'll continue to work that as well.
Ms. Welch, what are your priorities for modernizing the county clerk's office?
So modernization of the county clerk's office was the question. So David spoke to a little bit about enhancing websites, creating digital chat forms, but also within there is expanding what we can do virtually. A lot of times we have done plenty of things in person. Now, don't get it wrong. I do not want to call and listen through a prompt where I got to hit 1, 7, 8, then I got to repeat the, come on. That's ridiculous. But some things we can make this simple for people. One of that is by educating that piece. When we talk about modernization, grabbing a number is not modernization. To come in and shuffle in seats is not modernization, right? When the state decided to do voter registration online, people were like, oh, Lord, it's voter registration online. It has been the biggest growth in voter registration has been because we have digitalized this. So some things have to happen as we move forward with technology, but also making sure that we're secure. On the back end of that is including making sure that our team systems are secure. The last 2 ransomware attacks happened because of bad VPNs, which is virtual private networks. That means training our team on phishing software, on security pieces, implementing new security measures. How many of you at work have to change your password every 90 days? All right, see, it happens all the time. But we do that for a reason, and it is to help secure our systems so that they're accessible. The last piece of that is, as we're securing our systems, is making sure that they're still accessible virtually. So whether that means that you can literally go through and search for public records, or you can look at your polling place, being able to access those securely and updating that system. Even right now, you can find your polling location, but if you put north instead of in, if it's lowercase instead of capital, it may actually put you out and not give you a result that you need.
Thank you. Mr. Yates, what are your priorities for modernizing the county clerk's office?
We're hitting them. Right now, modernization, as we say, we had to stabilize in modernization, but it's responsible modernization because everything we do, we have to do within our budget. And I do take advantage of my relationships with other government agencies, though, because right now, our Metro IT, we've fallen underneath their protection. Because when I came in, I've been here about 5 months, since October 8th, I got sworn in. Since we've come in, we've made a lot of changes quickly. And one of those fears was that continue hacking. In the first 3 weeks, they got around our firewall 3 times. You talk about fear. Couldn't say that out on a public thing because we weren't safe. We're safe today. Safer. We're never, ever safe because it's always there and we're always competing. So we're continuing to work together. But modernization is continuing working together and making things better with the very best practices we can have. Some of the stuff that we've worked on right now is streamlining processes. So in motor vehicles, so they can be faster. You got KY Elect, and they're saying how much better that Jefferson County is doing. And some of this is really just for me investing back in the people. What I've learned in every office that I have run, that if you let people know that you appreciate them, you let people know they're respected, and you invest in them, they work harder. I had so many people that were on SNAP benefits when the government closed. They couldn't make ends meet. I have people that could not come to our Christmas event afterwards because they're working their third job. Right now, I'm pushing and reinvesting in our people for a livable wage. And you know what happens when you reinvest in people? They do better. They work better. And they're working harder. I have got this family atmosphere, and I love it. I love every part of this job. I've had a lot of different positions, but this one gets better and better because not only do we invest in the technology, we're investing in the people, and you're seeing a turnaround. And so you're going to see Cavis getting better. You're going to see kiosks out inside your branches, so it'll be faster, so that it'll skip line moving in. The clerk alert, how many people are signed up on clerk alert? Oh, come on, we got to get on there, so protect our deeds. And the other part is that we're making sure you can get online and see what the weights are. And it's getting better and better, so less and less people ever have to come in the branches, that you can save time and renew online.
Ms. Welch, how will you protect sensitive information while ensuring public access?
So I touched on this a little bit of securing information while creating public access. And so we talked about virtual private networks. Secure logins for access for lookup for records. So that would be where you would create an account that you would go into the clerk's office. And so you can manage all of your things underneath your account from within there. But the other part to that is as we're securing the back ends of these things, we have to be proactive in how we interact and interface with the web, with technology. Last year in 24, when I was working the polls at the last general election, we had an issue with the Wi-Fi. Literally, the issue was simply that we had so many people show up for early vote that there was not enough bandwidth to download those voter records for election day. We didn't have enough Wi-Fi. Now, simultaneously, that was a great problem because that meant more people came out to vote than we had expected because we didn't have enough Wi-Fi for it, right? But then creating a secure cellular network that would allow us to do both, to have consistent secure Wi-Fi, secure cellular network that can double back with that. The other piece of that is within that information. Right now, we hand out those e-poll books. Thursday through Saturday, poll workers can pick that up. I would say you can only pick those up. We would have that on Monday. Why? So that we can go ahead in-house and download all that voter data so that we aren't backing up our systems. So some things within the security piece may actually be saying, let me bring it back in so that I don't have a security issue on election day where we have people who show up to vote and we have to turn off Wi-Fi in order to get them checked in because the systems are crashing.
Mr. Yates, how will you protect sensitive information while ensuring public access?
One of the things that I'm worried about right now that I've spent, 100 hours and 2 weeks, it feels like I'm working on, is what's going on with the Department of Justice. And right now, they're going after our Secretary of State. They've already filed to be able to get your records and your information. Well, those are Jefferson County voting records that we entrust. So I will fight in conjunction with our legal counsel, which will be the county attorney's office. I will fight to protect that. I'm not going to let Donald Trump and the Department of Justice come in and take our voting files. That is protected by the Constitution. When I taught constitutional law, I would never have said this could happen. And right now, we're in the right place of this, and we're going to fight it. The other part is, some people saw the historical documents. I'm the first clerk in 250 years to actually go to preserve historical documents from our earliest times, our 1790s, some of the historical documents from our early history and slave era, and some things that are very difficult for people to read, but I think that has to be accessible to the public. So I'm going to make sure that is properly preserved and made accessible to each and every person so they can learn from that. The accessibility has to be balanced with security. And that's why we came in the cloud base and came into the Metro IT, because you're right, it was a mess. And as far as an election day with ES&S, they were moving to get a new whole election center with no ink and looking at contracts because what it had messed up. When I came in, the first thing I did is I put that lawyer hat on and we sat around a table and we talked about breach of contract and what we had contracted for and what services should have been delivered. At that time, what we didn't do, it wasn't open enough time to be able to download. We're doing test runs on it where it'll have twice as much voting data downloaded so we can do test examples so we know that could never happen under this watch. That is my job and I take it serious.
Ms. Welch, in the 2024 primary election, the voter turnout in Jefferson County was 13.1%, or 81,553 out of the 621,847 registered voters. How do you propose to increase voter turnout in elections?
So increasing voter turnout means we got to come outside of the office where voters are. So that means educate and engage all day long. It's more than just sending you a postcard to tell you where your polling place is, because half of y'all don't check your mail to even know that it came. So what does that look like? First, it starts young. We need to train up a child in a way that they should go. The county clerk's office offers something right now called where they actually come out to schools and they will do mock elections. Right? Delta has actually done some mock elections. One, we want to get kids involved within that process. Two, creating great partners, the League of Women Voters, organizations like Delta, the D9, who do voter registration very well, very eloquently. And they show up at schools. In Kentucky, if you turn 18 by the general election, you can vote in the May primary. How many of our high school students know that? So we have to be able to educate that piece, right, and get that information out there so that they can show up on May 19th and cast their ballot. Then it comes to after high school, college campus, U of L, Simmons, Sullivan, Spalding, Bellarmine, making sure that we're going places and having talks with voters, with our new constituents there, and educating them about what's happening on the ballot, why we need you, why it's important. The county clerk's office in this part is nonpartisan. We are not here to tell you who to vote for. We're here to tell you about the voting, what day you can vote, and how you access your ballot. That is our role. And we take pride in that. And so with that, we then take it a step further. Let's go to where people are. AAU basketball games, Norton Sports and Learning Complex. We have hundreds of parents there waiting on their kids all day for track meets. How are we registering them to vote? How are we telling them about this election? How are we reminding them that this is happening so that we can get people to turn out? Our measure of success should be, how do we increase voter turnout and voter education?
How do you propose to increase voter turnout in elections?
Well, first of all, something like this, and having Roz up here with me, I think is just super beneficial because we're both talking about voter turnout and the importance of democracy in our voting. So I appreciate that, and we're in agreement. In fact, that's what we do. We hit the ground on those issues. We're in the schools right now. We're doing the mock elections. We're doing it. One thing I'm really excited to announce is that we've brought back, since 1998, the office has not had, I've brought back a civic and voter engagement ambassador. So Milt Wagner is going to come in from us, and he's going to be, that's right, U of L's playing right now. He's coming in right now, and he's going to help that ambassador to work in, because I knew that in the schools, he had direct access, what he had done at JCPS currently, in the high schools, working in there, engaging people. And those are those relationships that we've got to continue to build on. And the engagement, but I really believe that when civic education is expanded, when people feel comfortable, they're more engaged. And that's that discussion. And right now, all this rhetoric, people believing that the elections are rigged, that saying that it's all a false, that's just why it's so important for our office right now to show. That's when I come in, as I'm your county clerk, look, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I was president of the College of Democrats. I grew up, my grandfather served 22 years in the House. I have worked every campaign. I used to have the splinters on the old signs, everything else. But when I am the Jefferson County clerk and I'm doing these elections, all I care about is the integrity of the elections. I don't care if it's red team, blue team, green team, whatever it is. I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to make sure that the public can trust this office to know I'm not a political hack. This job is bigger than anybody in here. This is about the foundation of our democracy, and we show every step. We record every step. We're doing it, and we held to the requirements of law. When at the end of the voting day, the sheriff goes over there and they bring them in. The sheriff's not the law enforcement. And you know what? We videotape it, and then we count the ballots. Every single step is done according to law. It's recorded and it's checked. So whenever I have someone from a federal government telling us that we're doing something wrong, I'm ready to fight.
Ms. Welch, what plans are being made to ensure that all people feel safe and comfortable while voting?
Making sure everyone feels safe and comfortable while voting. We live in a crazy America. It gets crazier by the day, you all. In 2023, we actually had voter intimidation at the Portland Community Center on Election Day. Someone came in, started to literally tear up a vote machine, intimidated voters, and blocked voters from voting. The police were called. He was escorted out and arrested. turned over to our lovely judicial system within there. With that being said, we have to be prepared for that. We see what the state of this country is. So whether it is working hand in hand with our sheriff's department, with LMPD to have rolling patrols around our polling places, not because we want an officer parked in the parking lot to create intimidation. Let me be clear about that. But to make sure that we feel safe when we're casting our ballots. Secondly, within there, when we talk about intimidation and we talk about access, the Voting Rights Act requires that a certain percentage of non-English speakers be present in the entire city in order to have a ballot in a different language. We have some precincts that meet that threshold, but the city will never meet it. We have disenfranchised voters because we refuse to offer either translation services or ballots in other languages for those voters. And so as we look at how do we make sure that you, as an American citizen who has the right to vote, that you are able to cast that unimpededly and that you can cast that freely without needing someone else to fill out your ballot, is we have to create systems and protect those systems with life as well as with funds to make sure that we can fund that properly. And then lastly, the last part that I would say on that is as we are asking for people to work the polls, make sure that you're coming in to ensure that every single voter can cast their vote, and that's your only job when you show up on Election Day.
Mr. Yates?
We're in sync up here. I'm proud to announce, and this will be intimidation. It has no place in my office. We have gone out, and what we did is in the community, and you know, it is real. For the first time we're going to have one of the early voting sites be at the Americana Center. In there, and that's important because I talked to the people, and of course that's where I did my service hours and everything else. But that talking, they said that's where they feel comfortable, and I want to make sure by doing early voting, I don't have to worry as much about the intimidation on voting day. I have got a close relationship with our law enforcement, the sheriff's office. They will be there in case that happens. If somebody wants to intimidate a voter, I can rest assured they're going to spend the night in the county jail. In there. But the other part is making sure, you brought it up about the Spanish communities. Well, a lot of times, just that information, that communication, because you want to engage people in society. So we've modernized, and we're working on modernizing the website. It'll have over 100 languages. We're going to have Spanish printed ballots of information. So although the Secretary of State would have to have the official, would be different, we can get the sample ballots out in those communities so they can know what to expect and understand and learn from it. We even got the I voted stickers in Spanish because that brings community engagement. And the idea is that we want every eligible citizen to be able to vote. That is important to bring people in because that is our right. That is democracy, and I'm not going to let some outside individual rob us of that. So arbitrary and capricious standards, I know that right now you're looking at House Bill 534 where they're going to try to mirror the SAVE Act and try to keep women from being able to vote because they don't have their marriage certificate. You better believe I'm going to be fighting that one too, and if that happens, I'll have a printer in every precinct printing them out. Thank you.
Ms. Welch, what is the county clerk's role and responsibility for protecting the integrity of each election?
To protect the integrity of each election, one, we have to be open. Board of Elections meetings happen, it used to be the third Tuesday of every month, or the second Tuesday of every month, and they're open to the public. And rarely public shows up. Usually I'm the only public. Quite often, I've been attending Board of Elections meetings for years now, having conversations with the county clerk staff and team to make sure that we are closing some gaps that I see out in the community. I've been doing that for over 3 years now. When we talk about what election integrity looks like, it looks like having a system that we can actually report results back a little quicker than we usually do. And why does one side of town always come in last? West Louisville results always come in last. For some reason, polls close all at the same time. But that's the last results that are listed. And so as we look at what integrity looks like, it looks like making sure that we advertise and talk about some of the things that are already in place. So whether that is the pre-counts for ballots, so you can come in, it's open to the public, and they show all the ballots so you can see that they're all printed right and all that other jazz, or the count that's post the election that you actually see where they pull out a certain number of ballots to actually do the count that's there to ensure that we have true election integrity. The other part to it is if we have any close races. And so part of that is automatic recounts that happen with a certain percentage, and some of it is forced recounts that candidates can ask for within a certain percentage, and making sure that we're publicly advertising those. This year, when we pulled for candidate and ballot positions, we asked if it was going to be live streamed. And we were told, no, it was just going to be put up at the end. We were going to put the video up later for what was happening. The Secretary of State's office live streamed it so that way persons who couldn't be there that day could actually see their ballot position pool. So those are things that are easy wins, that we can get you involved in the process and make sure that there's transparency. But then also make sure that we understand that in Kentucky, even though we have this AccuVote, you still have a paper ballot. I still have paper ballot records that are kept on file, that our polling machines are kept under security for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can run the video back to make sure nobody's tampering with them, to make sure that there isn't a defiance for you scandal people in your life. So we know that we can walk away with our heads held high to say that Jefferson County not only has secure elections, has accurate elections. And that we allowed every single eligible voter was allowed to vote free from intimidation.
Mr. Yates?
Yeah, I think it just starts with information and going after the false narrative. Right now, there's a large demographic that doesn't want you to vote. They want you to think your vote doesn't matter. And then, in fact, they're going so far to try to pass legislation to make it harder for you to vote. There may be a tack right now. You can register to vote till April 19th online to get it set up. There's people trying to make that go away. Why? You think about it. Right now, we fight to it. So we did right off the bat, for my Senate seat, we did a special election. It was great because I got to test the polling machines that had messed up before and the tabulations and go through piece by piece. Additionally, we got to record every part of that so that we'll be able to put a reel out soon. We don't want to do it too early because of voter fatigue, but we want to make sure we get a reel that we could show everyone what happens every single step of the way as part of my education. So we're going to do a campaign to let people know when your times are, when the voting locations are, where they're at, how to vote, what to do. If anybody goes to jeffersoncountyclerk.org, you can type in your address. It'll tell you where to vote. That's backup. That's nice. It works. We want to make sure we're just putting that out there. But until April 19th, I bring them everywhere. You can still register to vote. You can do it online. That's the idea. By talking to each other, by registering us to vote, by making that communication, don't make it a taboo. That's part of our democracy. When people stop talking about elections, when they stop talking about their politics and their government, then they stop being part of it. And us being quiet and not stepping up and not fighting back means we're going to get run over. We're a small blimp in the United States, but I promise you we're a city big enough to make a difference. And if we do this right, when we file this intervening complaint, when we come in and we come out swinging, we're going to make a statement. When I told you whenever I came into this office that we were going to be the best clerk's office in the United States, I wasn't joking. That's part of the plan.
Ms. Welch, what are your top 3 priorities if elected?
So my top 3 priorities are enhanced technology. I think we've beat that horse. Open new office. And then develop our team and create leadership pipelines. With 350 plus team members within the county clerk's office, having leadership development is key. As Clerk Gates said, it is about how do you invest in people. People who want to come to work, who want to be here. It is an indictment on our city and on our county that we have people who are eligible for government assistance while working 40 hours a week for the government. That's problematic, all right? And so I will applaud the increase in wages, but my next question is then, not only do I get you off a SNAP, but how do I get you to a living wage so you can put a couple dollars aside so you can go and file a mortgage deed and get one? Because those are 2 different pieces within there. And so that's the part that we have to get to within there. And then I think part of that is also asking the question, when we talk about accessibility to the ballot, to the voting, is it time that Election Day becomes a holiday established by the state and by the city to allow, one, our workers get time and a half because we still need them to work. They're going to be needed employees, but also so that we can also get our community members to remove that one excuse, I got to work.
Mr. Yates, top 3 priorities.
Wow, I wish I could just pick 3 because it is all over the place.
Well, you got to pick 3.
That's right. So obviously, and I keep talking about it, you got to modernize and secure the office because you have to restore the public trust. And that's part of that. And the other part is to improve the customer service by investing into the people that we work on too. Right now, we really have 270 employees. The wage budget is about $19 million on that. We got to get the wages up for the individuals, but we have to operate within our budget. So I have to find efficiencies to be able to do that. So I can't just build new locations and do wage increases. So I have to be able to be responsible in how we do those things. So I'll continue to find efficiencies. I'll continue to increase wages, and we're going to do a study to look about where things are located. So my final is to, honestly, is just to fight to make sure that our elections go off smoothly. It has not happened the last two. It will happen in May.
Ms. Welch, how do you define success for this office?
Success to me is defined, one, that our constituents know what the county clerk's office does. A lot of times people come up to me and say, Rosalind, are you going to fix them driver's licenses? And I tell you, well, guess what? The county clerk's office does not actually have driver's licenses. And we haven't. There is Senate Bill 7 that will allow for possible local offices to hold that, but that does not include places that have regional driver's license offices, and we have those. But the reality of it is our constituents is asking us to take it. So if we are efficient, what does that look like for us? And once again, I'm not saying that that's something else we need to add to our plate, because we got plenty to do. But I think success is the people knowing what the county clerk does. The other success is that people know that they can get their answers through the clerk's office. So whether that is, how do you file for a records release? How do you file for a quick deed? How do I get a title changeover? How do I pay taxes on this car that was in my grandfather's garage for the last 28 years, whose tags have been expired, without me cruising down the street and getting pulled over by the sheriff's department? So all of those things need to happen through education. And so how many clicks do we get on our website where we've answered questions? And then lastly, looking at our leadership and our team and saying, how have we developed them? And creating a standard to say, this is what development looks like within this clerk's office, and this is how we move that forward.
How do you define success in this office, Mr. Yates?
Well, success is dependent on where I'm looking at it in each person, because it's always changing on me. But I make sure that I invest in my employees so that they are successful. So what we've done is we've done streamlining accountability measures so we can measure success. Do the same thing with each of my managers and directors. We've created that process so that we can account it, so we can show that we are improving day in, day out, because success is a journey. It's not a destination, because I'm always going to want to be better and better into it. But ultimately, when I look back and I know that we've run the election smoothly, transparently, and then we're delivering top service for every one of our constituents to make sure that they know where to go, how, and I can build that relationship with Frankfurt is what's going to have to happen, because they have the keys to Cavis, they have the money, the resources on there, and so I've got to successfully do that. And I'll tell you what, we got a couple things in the pipeline.
Final question for both of you. You have a bag of Grippos?
What's that?
You have a bag of Grippos? What do you drink with it?
A Big Red.
What do I like to drink? What do I like to drink?
You have a bag of Grippos. What do you drink?
What do I drink with it? It can't be water, because it's going to be all day long. So it's going to have to be something pretty tart. Maybe just a regular old Coke.
Okay. Regular old Coke and Big Red.
And Big Red.
All right.
I
Thank
thought
you
you were
all.
offering me, so.
Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Reverend, thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again. All right. There is a meet and greet in the multipurpose room, which is right out these two doors behind me. The meet and greet will conclude at 8:30 p.m. Thank you so much for your interest and your participation. It is our intent to provide the voters with information on the races and candidates. Thank you again for being here tonight. Good evening.